Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of First Attack. I am James Chen. How's everybody going? Today is going to be essentially the first installment of 2014 for First Attack. For the askjchensor episode of First Attack. Every year I've always done this. I've always done the Ask jchensor, where I have people send me questions via email to our email, which is ultrachentv@gmail.com. And what I do is I have people send me questions that they would like answered, because a lot of times when I'm giving the lessons and stuff like that, I tend to gloss over, or I miss things that you guys want to know about, or not even strategy, like game wise. You can ask about any sort of thing, like what I would recommend on starting communities, or you can range from anything advanced topics to basic topics, and hell, you can even ask me questions like that you just want to know about me, like what are my favorite games or whatever random stuff like that. So today is the first episode of Ask jchensor. I do have a bunch of questions that have been building up for several months now. Mostly because during the end of last year, we always take that almost adequate adventures hiatus, and then I got a bunch of new questions once the season started up again. So I have a nice little backlog of questions, so I'm just going to go through these one by one. Again, if you want to ask questions, send them to ultrachentv@gmail.com and put in the subject line Ask jchensor. That makes it easier for me to know that that's specifically what you're looking for. I also do other episodes called Execution Corners, where if you have trouble doing any sort of specific execution, because I like doing combos, and usually because I've had years and years of experience doing combos and making combo videos and stuff, I kind of more easily grasp why a combo is working and why it's not working. So I also have something for execution. So if you want to learn how to do something, like a particularly difficult link that you want to have help with, or some crazy ass Guilty Gear combo that you're having trouble with, you can also send that to ultrachentv@gmail.com, and with the subject line of Execution Corner, and I will be able to help you with that. So, yep, ultrachentv@gmail.com. So, and right now you can send me more questions if you want. I don't know if I'll get to them, because like I said, I have a good deal of questions here right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Apologies to those guys who have sent questions like around October, November that I haven't gotten to. By now, these questions are probably too late. Don't know if you're still watching or not, but these are always good questions that a lot of people, that will, benefit a lot more people than just the person asking the question. So I'm going to go through these questions one by one here. And so the first question I have is from Osama Yamo, I guess. I'm totally butchering the guy's name. But he asks me, this is a common question I get. He asks, is plinking completely necessary if you want to reach a high level of play? He says he plays on pad. He doesn't really seem like he can plink very well on one. So is it necessary to become at the highest level of play? So the answer to that is it helps a lot. It helps a lot because it makes a lot of the one-frame links and a lot of the little execution intricacies of Street Fighter 4 easier to do. Now, here's the thing though. It's pretty much only Street Fighter 4 and Cross Tekken specific. You can plink in Cross Tekken, right, David? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it really only works in those two games. So while plinking is very helpful in Street Fighter 4 and in Cross Tekken, it's not going to help in any other game, because it's a specific technique to Street Fighter 4. Now, there are some things in Marvel like plink dashing, which, they just took the name of it, but it's not quite the same thing. However, the ultimate proof that you do not need to use plinking to get high levels is Chris G. Because Chris G does not plink at all. In fact, he uses Sakura, as most of you probably know, and Sakura can have combos of just, I mean, she has combos with one frame links everywhere, and he does not have a problem with that. And, you know, this has happened for all of fighting game history. There was something called a Nigiri kick. Again, I'm totally butchering the pronunciation. In Virtua Fighter 2, which you could actually kick. You could do a standing kick and cancel it. So you could always fake a kick. The problem is the last frame in which you could fake and the first frame that it hit overlapped. So if you actually timed it right, you could kick fake and juggle people with like 4 kicks in a row. Problem was, it was only 1/60th of a second that you could actually execute that timing, and people would do it in the arcades all the time. 1, 2, 3, 4 in Japan, and in any case, you know, the top level players. So even back then, when there was a lot of, you know, quote, one frame link stuff, one frame link meaning, you know, you have 1/60th of a second to time it correctly. People were doing it without plinking before, and people are doing it without plinking now. So, but you will see a lot of players, for example, Daigo I think does this, Sako does this, I believe Infiltration does this. I'm pretty sure they all do this, not 100% sure, but there is that back plinking or back/select button plinking that you know is the glitch in the game that lets you plink even stuff like jabs and gives you better chances to land links. And most of them do it. They reconfigure their controller to give them better opportunities to land stuff. So the reason why I bring that up is because even if you don't like plinking and are steadfast against it, it can help at every level. It makes things a lot easier. I've been able to land a lot of harder link combos before. Like one of the early training mode trial combos for Abel was that crazy like forward dash, fierce, change of direction, FADC, all this other stuff, and it was really hard for me to get at first. Now, thanks to plinking, I can do it like within the first 5 tries or something like that. So it's pretty easy. Okay, so thanks for that question. Let's move on to the next one. So this is actually a really good question by Patrick B here. I really do like this question, and I may not even be the best person to answer this because I'm not very good at this myself, which is how do I walk forward without getting blown up? Oops, sorry guys, I have my heater on, so you may hear some air noise in the background. But how do I walk forward without getting blown up? So whenever I try to get close to my opponent, I end up getting mauled. But my opponent seems to have no problem doing it to me. So the problem's clearly on my end. I can use long-range pokes, but getting in closer to use anything but long-range pokes always gets punished. This is a great question. Number one, I'm really, really glad that Patrick B had the line saying that he can't get close to the opponent, but the opponent can get close to him, so the problem is clearly on his end. That's already number one step to getting better, is admitting that you need to improve something and get better at it. So I really like that attitude. Just kind of wanted to mention that a little bit. But footsies. It's all about footsies, right? Footsies is one of the hardest things, and in fact, I think David's episode on Level 3 Focus later on is going to be a lot about trying to get in, especially against zoning heavy characters and such. But in terms of footsies, if you guys are just playing footsies, like you could play a Ryu match and still experience this problem where you can't get in on them and they can get in on you. There's the trifecta of footsies that that Bucktooth was the first one that I heard really describe it this way, which was the paper, rock, scissors of footsies. If your opponent is able to zone you by throwing out a lot of moves and you're scared to go into them, you have to learn to whiff punish. You have to stand outside the range of their move. You have to be able to learn those distances. Stand outside the range of their move, and when they whiff their move, you hit them in their recovery. That gets them to stop hitting buttons. That gets them scared. That's what's going to let you walk forward. You have to establish a threat. You can't just walk forward when you feel like it, because if they're hitting buttons and you're not doing anything about it, then that's not a problem. And of course, you know, if you're whiff punishing their moves all the time, then the problem is they can start walking forward because you're not attacking first. So, again, if they throw out moves and they're trying to zone and you whiff punish them, if you just sit there all day and try to whiff punish them, that gives them the ability to walk forward because you're not attacking. So you kind of have to learn how to mix zoning and whiff punishing. At the same time, you got to learn how to mix in walking forward. So those are the three main components of Footsies. I talked about them in past episodes before, several episodes I think. But that's really the key right there. If your opponents are good at zoning you, start whiff punishing them. Once they get scared to throw out buttons, then you can start walking in on them. However, if they start walking in on you when you are trying to whiff punish them, that's when you can start trying to poke them and counter them, and they'll start running into a lot of your moves. And it just becomes this big little cycle that is very fast-paced, and that's what makes Footsie so enjoyable. So it's a lot of fun. And also, there are just times when you can read your opponent that they're scared. I think there was a match that I analyzed last year where it was Vi versus another player at Wednesday Night Fights, and Vi just like walked half across the screen without scared of anything, and he walked forward. And Vi has always said that walking forward in Footsies just requires bravery. You just have to be brave and just know when to do it, and it's one of the hardest things to learn. And in fact, it's probably the weakest area of my Footsies. I am great at poking. I just love hitting buttons all day. But if I fight against someone who's good at whiff punishing me, that blows me up really badly. So, and also when I fight against people who don't hit a lot of buttons, that should be my cue to walk forward. But I'm always too scared to do it. So definitely my weakest area of Footsies. But that is generally how you can get close. You just have to recognize when they're not going to hit buttons. So, okay, let's go on to the next question. Great question there, Patrick. Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to skip that one. Okay, this is a good question. I really like these ones because fighting game community is very lingo heavy. There's a lot of slang, a lot of terminology, and most of it doesn't make any sense. I'm not talking about like what's a media attack, what's a option select. I'm talking about phrases like, oh, he's so Pringles, or you're so free. These things are prolific in our dialogue. So I do like these kind of questions. Omar A has asked this question. I was hoping you could shed some light as to what the following terms mean. I hear these in various videos and I think I understand them. However, it would be cool if you explain what they are and maybe some of their origin. So number one on his list is the Gootecks Shimmy. The Gootecks Shimmy, man, I wish I had Street Fighter 4 set up right now so that way I could actually just show you guys. But the Gootecks Shimmy is a technique in which you're right next to an opponent when they get up. And usually, okay, let me paint the mental process of most people who are lying there on the floor. When they get up, as soon as they get up, if the opponent throws an immediate attack, they feel safe because they're blocking. However, if the opponent doesn't attack right away, if they don't throw in an attack immediately, usually that's a sign that your opponent is trying to throw you. And so a lot of people actually just naturally panic when they get up next to an opponent and the opponent doesn't do anything. This is actually a very common third strike tactic too because of parries and stuff like this. It's probably why Gootecks used it so much to punish whiff throws in third strike. Basically what happens is the character gets up, and then right when they get up, instead of staying in your spot, you walk backwards out of your opponent's throw range. As soon as you walk out a certain distance, even though you're moving backwards, it's just really like the opponent gets nervous, immediately responds with a throw tech, and then you throw out a move that overrides their whiff throw or like a low short, and then you combo into them. So the Gootecks Shimmy that he got famous for doing was with Balrog. Knock the guy down, guy gets up, walks backwards, the opponent reacts with a throw. Just because there's that weird slight time frame of delay where all of a sudden people get nervous. You take that step back, they try to throw low strong jab rush into super if you had it, or EX kick rush and go into a long combo. It got named the Gootecks Shimmy because Gootecks did it all the time in Street Fighter 4. It became one of his staples. And every time you saw Balrog do it, it reminded lots of commentators and lots of players of Gootecks' Balrog from the vanilla days. So it just became the Gootecks Shimmy. The next phrase he has up here, he wants to know what an okie doke is. And you know, honestly, I feel like that you made that up, didn't you, David? Or
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think David was the one who made up okie doke, and that one just kind of proliferated through the fighting game lexicon as well. And honestly, it's just basically a shenanigan. I mean, am I right on that one? That's how you're using it, right? It's just kind of like a shenanigan. You do like a little fun, tricky little thing, and it just works, right? Or
yeah, it's usually a shenanigan always, but I use it oftentimes specifically with boxer overhead in SF4.
Oh.
I mean, there are a couple other times where I use it most specifically, but yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, yeah, so it's basically a shenanigan, a tricky little thing, or just kind of like an all-in kind of like. So, like as David said, he used it for the Balrog overhead because that's pretty much Balrog's desperation comeback. Hits you with the overhead, combos in a headbutt ultra. We've seen guys like Prog and such win with that okie doke so many times. But yeah, that's basically what it means. Just like this kind of, okay, here we go, let's try this, you know, kind of thing. Let's go for the okie doke. So the next phrase that he has in here, and I'm the wrong person to ask this because I didn't even know what it was at first, and David had to explain it to me, which is the Snackage Special. And this is, I don't know exactly how the name came, but this is from Aquasilk, one of the premier commentators on the East Coast. He does the Next Level Battle Coliseum a lot with Chris Hu. He also streams a lot. Excellent, one of the best Zangief players in the United States. And he named something the Snackage Special, which is basically you have the computer in the corner, you have your opponent in the corner, you start to focus, and what happens is, one of the easiest ways to get away from focus in that situation is to jump backwards. So what you do is you focus and then dash forward. The opponent jumps backwards and you do something to completely obliterate the backwards jump, which in Aquasilk's case was defending the Russian skies with Ultra 2 with Siberian Blizzard. And the video, if you guys can look for it, okay, I think Nintendo just posted it up right now. Dude, check out that video. It's hilarious because he demonstrates it perfectly on a hapless online opponent, and it's beautiful stuff. But definitely nowadays, I mean, I know Ricky did it to Daigo a long time ago in Super with Rufus. He focused and then Daigo jumped backwards, he dashed forward and did Ultra 2 with Rufus when it actually hit out of the air really well. It wasn't the Snackage Special at the time, but you know, it's becoming that. The focus bait them to jump back in the corner and punish them for it. So next quote is Pringles. Pringles is a term that Yipes made up in the infamous video that included other such phrases as Scoops Haagen-Dazs, F the Knicks. Dude, it was probably one of the most popular videos very early on. Just basically Yipes commentary highlights. And Pringles came from there. I believe it was in the video. Oh, he's so Pringles. And it's kind of lost its original meaning, and kind of at one point turned into a good thing. Actually, Pringles is not a very good term. Pringles means that, as far as I know, that means you crumble easily. I believe that's what he was trying to hint at when he did it. Is that true or no?
I've never heard that explanation before.
Really? Yeah, because, you know, at the bottom of the can of Pringles, it's always all the crumbled chips down there, right? I think that's what it meant. Either that or it's like you take a lot of chip damage or something like that. You know, chips, Pringles, but he's so Pringles generally means that you're easily defeated nowadays. At some point in time, it became a compliment, But yeah, so I don't know. Um, a lot of people out there are saying no, huh? So okay, but maybe not. It's definitely not chip. It's definitely not chip. But I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So yeah, it just means chip. Dude, what? Dude, I'm seeing like everything like going back and forth here. So, but basically, Pringles just means that you're easy to defeat. You're not very good. So, very easy to defeat. So, a lot of people are saying that it refers to Magneto of once you pop, you can't stop. But that doesn't really fall into line either. So, but some people are saying it just means it's because you got opened up and such. So, dude, like I said, this term has just kind of gotten lost. I've had it described to me as because you crumble easily, but maybe whoever told me that was giving me false information as well. So, basically, you just don't ever want to be called Pringles. There you go. So, okay, next phrase. FGC lingo is pretty dumb, I'm not gonna lie. The next phrase that he wants to know what the definition of is the American reset. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the American reset, so other countries like Japan and stuff are known for their execution, for doing long combos and stuff like that. I don't know, I guess America just has this reputation for dropping combos a lot more. An American reset is whenever you drop a combo and somehow turn it into a new combo. This happens in Marvel all the time. Like someone's trying to do a combo, they mess up, and then immediately do something else and go into a new combo and get more damage. So in the end, you benefited, but you did it by accident. So it's called the American reset, basically. Like, oops, I dropped the combo. Oh, I recovered. So again, not exactly, the biggest compliment when you hear people say that online. So that's what an American reset is. And the last one that he wants to know is the Mexican uppercut. So I don't know where other people had this story originated from, but I swear, this phrase has existed since the days of AGSF2. Basically, there were some players who would play against Shotos like Ryu in games like Alpha 1 and Alpha 2, where Crouch Fierce was a really high priority anti-air. And so rather than uppercut people, a lot of players would just do a Crouching Fierce instead. And this kind of originated in SoCal. I kind of remember, I think it was someone from San Diego complaining. Oh no, he called them a fathead Ryu. But in any case, it got to the point where at certain arcades, it just happened to be most of the players who would use the Crouch Fierce as an anti-air were of Mexican persuasion. And so it just gained the term of being the Mexican uppercut. So whenever you see someone walk up and Crouch Fierce someone who with a character that has an uppercut as anti-air as opposed to just going for the uppercut, that's what's known as a Mexican uppercut. So, okay, there you go. So again, great question. Lots of crazy terms. I'm not even going to be right on something like Pringles. Pringles, see, someone asked, doesn't it have to do with the curly mustache? Excuse me. He said the word curly mustache because Yipes used the word curly mustache because he started with Pringles. So curly mustache came after Pringles. So, and I'm about to choke myself to death. Must be the gods, the fighting game gods punishing me for giving the wrong history of the word Pringles. So I'm going to go take a break. I'll be right back, guys, after I drink some water. All right.